Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In case you're new here, my name's Mary, and here on YouTube I like to share many of the projects I have going on around here with you all. Today I'll be working on fixing up the mantle for the fall season, and I also have a few other things that I'm doing in the living room that I'll probably show you, but the main focus being the mantle. And you guys know how I love, vintage or old-fashioned decorations, so I want to incorporate some of that, onto the mantle for the fall season. I'm even thinking of almost like a library, old library look, some old books, candles, maybe a mirror, a picture. At this point, not quite sure what all I'll come up with. I'm sure I'll probably be using a lot of my own things or, making stuff. I don't think I'll go out and buy anything that I know of at this point. We'll see how it goes. And as I often like to do when I'm fixing up a space for a new season, I like to clean it first and kind of freshen things up. I have a few other touches I want to add to the living room, for the fall season. I'm going to be washing these slip covers I had made in the springtime, and possibly might keep them off for the winter season. I do like the design that these chairs have, and I think it would be fitting for the fall and winter season, unless I decide to put them back on. I'm not quite sure. I'll be gathering the blankets and pillow covers and washing everything. Just love to freshen things up like this once in a while. I'll probably be storing this room divider for now, being that it kind of clashes with the design on the little recliners in case I decide to not cover them. I don't think I'll be removing the curtains and washing them. I'll just be checking them for any hidden bugs. Yes, we do have those stink bugs that come around this time of the year, and sometimes I'll find them in folds of curtains like this. So disgusting. Here I'm using my Mealy, I think that's how you pronounce it, vacuum. This is my good one, like it's not just the quick, Dyson, which I like that one too for just, quick sweeping, but if I do a more thorough cleaning, I'll be using this one. In the springtime, I had split this sofa into two parts. I kind of liked it for a while, but I'm in the mood to have it all in one piece again. So that's what I'll be doing, cleaning everything and pushing it together again. So I'll be showing you my houseplant routine here in this video. Since we're having some colder weather here in Ohio, I'll have to move them in from the outside. So my houseplants always look a lot better when I bring them in from the outside, in the fall season, versus when I put them outside again in the spring, if they even survive the winter. I always have a harder time having them indoors, versus having them outside here with our Ohio summers. But I'm going to do my best this winter to take good care of them. I plan to just water them if it's necessary. That's often the mistake a lot of people make, and I used to do this too, is just overwater them, just thinking, oh, they need water. Where you should really just check them, once a week. And even then, if it's, not necessary, I don't water them. So initially when I put my plants in my little shed back here, I thought maybe I'd heat it this winter and just keep them in here all winter long. It would be a fun space to sit in back here. But we didn't get around to it. We want to, if we ever do heat it, we want to do it efficiently, more than just, having an electric heater in here, which isn't very efficient. So being that we didn't, get around to it, I'll just bring them in for this year, and hopefully maybe by another year we'll be able to do something like that. So I have this little corner in the back part of our living room that I house some of them over the winter. Here I'm setting them up in here. Probably not going to fix up too much as far as, decorations, because I think this space is going to be full with, just the plants. You might remember seeing this little stand in a roadside makeover video I had done last year. And it's such a cute little narrow stand. I think it'll fit in here perfectly. I have a window down here in the basement where I'm normally able to keep some houseplants, and they do fairly well. So hopefully, yeah, this winter will be no exception. Some of these are just some starts that I had just recently started, so they're not just nice and full. I'm going to try this, I don't know, can you tell there in the cement pot? That is one I had in my wooden planter on the front porch, and I'll try to put a picture of it here on the screen, but I'm going to try to see if I can keep it over winter. Pretty sure when I got it, it would have been labeled, you know, as an annual, but who knows? I'm going to see if I can keep it over winter. So it really fills up the space here, but I always like to see plants here, but I'm always ready to move them outside then come springtime. A few of the plants will be here in the living room, you know, sitting on stands, and as soon as I see that they're not doing so well, I'll definitely move them, because I'm a little worried with our living room isn't just the brightest with the trees, you know, growing out around the house, but I think come, you know, wintertime, it'll be brighter with the trees having lost their leaves, but for now, I'm going to try it. I'll keep an eye on them. I'm going to hang this swing. I haven't had it up recently. I've had it in storage just to kind of open up the space here, but I think it would be nice and cozy for the fall and winter season to have it up. So now I'm ready to fix up the mantle, one of my favorite things to do. But before we get started on that, I have something I want to show you. I'll bring the camera in closer, but here on the mantle I have all of our Christmas candles for this year. Yep, they're out. Can't believe it's that time of year again, but I'm pretty excited about them. I love the look of the new labels, again, sticking to that theme that I had this summer when I switched out all the labels. Having that, you know, cream or tan colored label with the beautiful images on there, just giving them a fresh new look. So I don't have a whole lot of different scents. I'm just going with 6 popular ones. Well, the one is brand new, but the others have always been popular, you know, over the years. As you can see, you know, the Christmas Hearth, Fraser Fir, the Cranberry Marmalade, the Sugar Plum, and the Peppermint Latte are all some that we've had previously. The new scent is the Snickerdoodle Cookies, and it smells so good. It actually smells exactly like that. So if you're into a foodie smelling candle, I'm sure you're going to like this one. And of course, I have the winter candle collection in a cute little box. These are a set of 4, same as we had for the fall, but of course, you know, different scents. I picked 3 of the popular scents and then added the Snickerdoodle Cookies, and I think they turned out so adorable. I think these would make a great, you know, gift idea, or just something for yourself if you want to sample, you know, some of these candles, maybe try them out in a smaller size before investing in a larger size. I don't have any soap with me, but by the time this video goes live, I should have some on the website, so make sure to check that out if you're looking for some great smelling soap that is healthy, clean, all natural. Now let's get back to fixing up the mantle. I have 2 frames that I want to use in the living room for the fall season. One I found in my storage, and the other one my mom gave to me. She found it in a garage sale or thrift store, and she knew I'd like it, which she was correct. I love these kind of vintage looking gold frames. They're both gold. The one is, you know, oval and the other is rectangle, but unfortunately both of them, like where the picture, you know, fits in, is larger than 8.5 by 11, which that is all my printer is able to print. I always run into this. I should invest in a larger printer eventually, but I'm going to try something new today where I'm going to try to print an image into sections, like on, you know, a couple different sheets of paper, and tape them together. I'm not 100% sure is it going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. I did a little bit of research, and I know people sometimes do this. I thought I'd show you guys a step-by-step on how I go about to do this in case you want to try it yourself. All you need is a program that is usually on all laptops or computers, and that is the Paint program. Pretty sure it's a Microsoft program that, again, would come with most computers. So we'll go to my screen, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing here. So I don't have the Paint app on my taskbar, so I just search it, and it'll come up here. And after I have that open, you just go on File, click Open, find the image you want to use, and I zoom it down so I can see the entire image, make sure everything looks okay. I'll go onto File, Print, Page Setup, and on here I always move my margins to 0. It's not going to let me keep them exactly at 0, but I just don't want them to be a 1/2 inch. I want to get the most out of my paper as possible. and I set this to landscape, which it is already. And then instead of doing the fit to, I do adjust to, and I played around with it before, and 120% is about what I need for the size of the frame that I want to put it in. And hit OK. And then to view it, to see if this is all going to look okay, you know, after it prints out, I just hit print preview, and it'll show me what the 2 pages will look like. The first one being kind of the top part of the birds, the second one the bottom half. Close preview, file, print, print, and this will bring out my printer. I make sure this is on landscape, and I always go onto more settings and put it from standard to high. I want it to be the highest quality possible, being that I plan to frame this, and hit print. So using the same method, I printed out another image for my oval frame, and this one is 6 pages, so there's going to be some more taping involved. I thought it's a really pretty scenic fall image, and as you could tell earlier, I removed the glass of both of these frames. Sometimes I'll have glass in frames, but usually I remove it. I just don't care so much for the reflections that are in glass. I'm just using a plain glue stick to hold the paper in place, and as I'm working with this image, I'm actually kind of impressed with how little you see the seam. I mean, sure, you can tell it's there, especially here by the window, but I think once it's hanging on the wall, you know, vertically, it might even be hidden more. We'll see, but I'll definitely be doing this again if this works out. So this next part I'm pretty excited about. I have been wanting to make beeswax candles for a while and just haven't gotten around to it. And I thought, what would be a better time than right now, you know, in the fall season when things are starting to get cozy and candlelit. I also thought, since I'm going for a vintage kind of old-fashioned theme on the mantle, this would be perfect, since our ancestors, you know, probably made these candles out of necessity, you know, for their light. I did a lot of research to see, you know, how people go about to do this, and I'm sure there's more than one way, but this is kind of what worked for me. So here is my wax melting station, and what I have here is a tin can with the beeswax in it, not quite all melted, and I have it sitting in some hot water. And then over here I'm also microwaving some of it just to help it along. Once I have it melted here in the pitcher, I'll just add it to my tin can. I'm just doing it slowly, stirring every minute or so. So I plan to make tapered candles, and to do this you actually make them in pairs. So you have one full length of wick, and then you make 2 candles, you know, out of that one size of wick. So what you want to do is measure or think about how tall you want your candle to be. You know, double the size of the wick plus another good 3 inches, since you need to allow some, you know, as you're holding it to dip it, which that will make sense later on. And then you also need some extra to tie, some washers and nuts is what I'm going to use for my weights. Tie that to each end of the wick. And again, this will all make sense once I start dipping, but you definitely need weights at the end of your wicks so that your candle can be dipped, you know, down into the melted wax. And I'll have links down below in the description box of the wax that I'm using, and then also the wick. I, of course, got everything from Amazon. It's always the quickest. And later on, I'll be sharing some tips and things that I learned as I was doing this. Definitely would do it just a little bit different next time, but gotta say it was the most fun that I've had in a long time. I love making candles. I'll definitely be doing some more of it. So as you can see, I have sort of a candle making setup going on here, nothing fancy. And I'll bring the camera in closer, but I have an extra tin can sitting in my pot of hot water here that I'm also melting some wax in, and that way I can keep my large container filled up. I want to try to keep it as close to the same level as possible. I watched a lot of videos and read about, you know, making candles like this, and it sounds like your taper, like the top part of the candle, is going to turn out nicer if you keep your wax level up. So that's what I plan to do. And I also want my temperature of the wax to be between maybe 140 or 150, somewhere around there. And someone said you really don't want it to go higher than 170. It can lose some of its scent and maybe discolor the wax a bit. Now, I did have mine hotter than that at one point when I had it over on my stove, but so far I still smell it and it, you know, looks fine. So hopefully they're going to be okay. So I think these candles are weighty enough that I don't need the washers and the nuts anymore. I'm going to cut them off and drop them into my extra container that I have in my water pot. That way the wax will, you know, melt off and I can use it. I was surprised it didn't create more of a mess when dipping these candles. Surprisingly, they kind of dry right away after being dipped. And there's an even faster way of dipping where you can dunk them into water like in between your dips to kind of cool them off right away, so you can just have a continual dipping. I tried that too and ended up kind of liking it, being that it even went faster. I didn't have to, you know, walk back and forth to hang up my candles. And I felt like the further along, you know, each candle went, it went faster, like the more you could see a difference like every time you dipped, if that makes sense. Now, some of the things I learned while doing this, first of all, I used 3 pounds of wax, and it wasn't enough to finish off all of my candles, being that I needed more to bring that wax level up so I could keep dipping them down into the container and have it reach, you know, the top part of my wax. So if I were to do it again, I'd probably just make shorter candles. Initially, I just wouldn't dip them as far into the container. That way, once my wax level is lower, I would still be able to hit that top part of the wax on the wick or on the top part of the candle. And of course, the other option would be to just have more wax on hand. I can see if you do this a lot, you definitely want to have wax on hand. And even as I was dipping here, I would sometimes heat up some in the microwave, whatever I had left over, and just add it to my container. And another option would be to have a container that even has a smaller diameter and is deeper. That way it would bring your wax level up too. So those are things to keep in mind if you decide to do this yourself. And like I mentioned, it definitely was a fun experience. I want to do it again and maybe even dabble around with some other containers. I found this pretty clock in a garage sale recently. You might remember seeing it. And I don't really care for the color that it is. Not that it's a bad color or anything, but it's just not fitting to what I plan to display on the mantle. And I'm going to give it a few coats of this Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint, and the color is Briar Patch. I think it's such a pretty color, very fitting to the fall season especially. This paint is from Patterson Art Studio. I've talked about them before on here, so make sure to check out their Etsy shop if you enjoy, you know, creating, crafting, anything along that line. They're going to have it, and I know they have great service if you end up ordering something. I'll have their link down below in the description box. As I'm applying this paint, I'm just once again so impressed with Dixie Belle paint. It's just, the coverage is amazing. I could almost get away with one coat, but I can see it's going to be easier to just do two, you know, quick coats versus, you know, one where I'm just trying to cover everything. So I'm going to let it dry and then give it a quick second coat. And this clock does work like the clock part as far as it keeps time, but I'm really sad that the chime part doesn't work. Now, not that I want a chiming clock like during the night especially, but I saw there's little instructions on the back that probably came originally with the clock, and it says like it's set to not, you know, chime during the night, and it kind of gave instructions on how to set it, you know, to do that. And I went through all the steps numerous times and it still doesn't work for me. And I really had in mind, you know, when I thought about doing like an old-fashioned theme on the mantle, I was so excited about this clock because this really brings back memories as a little girl, you know, being at Grandma and Grandpa's house. They always had chiming clocks, even grandfather clocks that would chime, you know, all the time, sometimes even a couple different clocks in the same house, but have lots of good memories of that. So I'm going to try to maybe get it fixed. There is a local clock repair shop that I might drop it off, but for now I want to have it here so I can finish my display, but may end up doing that if I can't figure it out. I thought about going online and seeing if there's anything else I could do just on my own, but I imagine it might be something with, you know, the wiring or something that's not working. So I have a few more things I want to get ready for the mantle then before I, you know, fix it up. I want to paint this pumpkin, also going with this Briar Patch color. And then I have some leaves I want to gather on the outside. Right now we're having some pretty fall colors. It's still not like previous years, I don't feel like. I think we had that dry spell, you know, earlier, and some things just kind of turned brown and dropped their leaves already. But now we are having some really beautiful colors, but maybe not so much everything, you know, at one time. But it's okay. There's always something pretty to be found in the fall time on the outside. I also have an old rocking chair that I found in a garage sale years ago that I want to place in front of the mantle. It's one of those kind of low cedar kinds. I kind of like how it sits, you know, being that I'm a shorter person, it's comfortable for me, but it might not be for somebody that's, you know, just average height. I even kind of like the color that it is, so probably won't be painting it. And I got these cushions from Amazon. I was a little bit disappointed. They scrunched them all, like vacuum sealed them in a package, and they got all wrinkly for me, but I threw them in the dryer. I thought maybe that would help, which it did help a little bit, but definitely not looking as puffy as they did in the picture, but it's okay. I have a throw blanket that I want to toss over it, so maybe that will help with it looking better. I have one fall throw blanket and it's on the front porch on the swing, so I allowed myself to buy two of them also from Amazon, and I'll have the links down below in the description box, but I really like these colors for fall.